Hello, Devlin here with you, and welcome to another edition of the Devlin Bishop Show. Corda, as always, is with me, and this is another new episode for 2021. And boy, last time I think we debuted, I mentioned how crazy things were and how people were hoping that once midnight struck, everything was going to change. But boy, lots has happened in the last little while. Boy, when you talk about all the stuff going on in the States, and don't worry, if you want a break from that, you're definitely going to get it here. But I just can't believe all the stuff going on. Not to mention Tanya Roberts died, came back to life, died again, as last we heard. She is still dead. That's why we kept the tribute in from last week. But yeah, just craziness. And of course, like the annual purge happening in the US, which I'm sorry, that's the first thing I thought of when all that was going on. So anyhow, as I said, we're not a political show. We can go there sometimes, but we have much more important things to talk about, like theater. And we have a lady here that I've known for quite a while. I think it's only been the last decade or so that we've become really close. And I'm so glad we have. And I thought about inviting her on, and she said she would love to come on. And so we are going to have her. She is one of the founding members of a great little theater company. Is it in Cambridge?
Yeah.
Am I getting that right? Because I get my Kitchener's, Cambridge's all mixed up.
Yeah, it's in
Anyhow, she is an amazing lady, and we love chatting with her. So we thought we'd put her on camera because she loves being on camera, just like Corda does.
Yeah.
And so here she is, Laurie Distel.
Hey,
I feel like we should have like applause.
we should. Yeah.
Heather can remember how to get her onto the screen.
Oh,
Laurie Distel, there she is.
I hit the right button. It just took time. Sorry. For some reason,
She's still in the green. Oh, there she is.
you're
Are you
muted.
Oh, yeah.
There, I am.
There she is. She was in our green room. I'm using theater talk for her because she's a theater person. I was just saying, I don't know, could you hear us while you were in the green room?
No,
Oh.
it was just, yeah. I was actually looking for the music, but there was none, so.
No, we should actually have that, but
Yes.
yeah. Well, I always worry about that because I might say something embarrassing about them stuff, and then I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I should look into that because I'm not a very professional person, but I could not think of anything horrible to say about you. But I did mention that you and I have known each other for a long time, but I think it's only been the last decade or a little bit that we have all become really close. Like
Yeah.
your family, my family, Corda's family, we've all kind of come together thanks to ice cream.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
True.
because
Ice cream feels all-
Corda's family used to have these incredible ice cream parties, and everybody would come, and that's how I got to know Laurie and her husband Joe and her wonderful daughters Piper and Chloe, and they're just, yeah, I guess spending time with you, I realized how much of a kooky family you all were, and still are, were, like you guys got help or something. I think that gels with us because we all fit in. How have you been doing?
Good.
That's good.
There's not a whole lot to report in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, no, I was
I have
just,
lots of toilet paper. That's a highlight of this year so far. So
yeah, it was weird, the
Good.
stuff that did go, like toilet paper I get. Stuff like, flour I sort of get too, but I
Yeah.
remember hair color was disappearing for a while. Poor Corda had to live without her diet Dr. Pepper because
I know.
apparently there were ingredients
Still not
missing.
back.
No?
Nope, still not back.
there was a
Yeah.
Diet Dr. Pepper shortage.
There is.
Yeah.
You can't buy it right now.
I didn't know about this. Mike said, what's Heather doing? Because she's got this, she loves Diet Dr. Pepper. And we asked her, and she said, no, I haven't had it for ages.
Aw.
I don't drink anything with the word diet in it. It automatically tells me it's going to be gross.
Kind of agree.
Now, before the ice cream party, we were brought together because of Barry Manilow.
Yep.
Not only does he write the songs that make the whole world sing, except that one, that he has brought together a lot of people because you used to be part of the Barry Manilow fan club. Is that still a thing now, or?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. They're lovely, lovely people, but life just kind of took me in a different direction. So, but as far as I know, yeah, a few of them still kind of meet up right now on Zoom.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, like Barry Manilow, really, he was responsible for getting all of us together.
Yep, it's true.
Like Corda's mother met my brother and sister-in-law at the time.
Yep.
And that introduced me to them and Corda, and I met you through them because you were a member of the Barry Manilow.
Yep.
And the funny thing is I think I probably listen to Barry Manilow more than my brother does now, and he's the one who introduced me to Barry Manilow.
Wow, that's kind of impressive.
Yeah, I think he still likes Barry Manilow, but I think he's kind of gotten into like, country and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
And, and I love all that stuff too, but every once in a while I'm like, I probably play more Barry Manilow now than.
I have to admit, over the last few years, I haven't listened to as much Manilow as I once did. It's still kind of a hard point for me at this point in time. So I kind of fell out of listening to him when Joe passed. I still can't quite do it. I'm easing back in now. It's getting a little bit easier, but it's still he's still not my go-to right now, just because
Understandable. And you met Joe through the Barry group as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said, Barry Manilow brought a lot of people together. So
It's true.
yeah, and I still love his music and respect the hell out of him. But when I really think about it, he is responsible for all of this. So, so if he's watching in his retirement, because we know Barry Manilow's sitting around watching us.
Why would he not?
Yeah, I like to name drop every once in a while because I hope that one day somebody will pick up on it. So, I don't know. Did you ever go to the movies a lot? Like Cineplexes and stuff?
Kind of depended. I didn't go to the movies to go to the movies. I'd go to the movies if there was a movie that I wanted to see, if that makes sense.
Well, do you remember the pre-show they used to show? And there was a young guy named Tanner Zipshin on there?
No.
Yeah, he used to introduce movies and stuff. Well, I name dropped him. Heather's taking calls. Look at this. Look at this. So professional here. Look at this.
Maybe it's Barry Manilow. Maybe it's Barry Manilow.
Anyhow, I name dropped this young man because he gave me like a thumbs up and wishing me a happy new year last year because I threw Count Devlin on his website and he must have been amused by it. So
that's cool.
I thought, he's Canadian. He's not that big a celebrity. Maybe I could get him on my show at some time. But.
Yeah, no kidding.
So who knows? I'm going for Barry Manilow next.
There you go. Well, Heather's on the phone with him right now. I'm sure that's his reps.
I like did you ever get to meet Barry Manilow? Like, did you go to one of those meet and greets?
I did. I actually went to a book signing when his book came out in 1723, something like that, years and years ago. We went to, with Corda's parents, actually, we went to the Eaton Center in Toronto, and I stood in a very, very, very long line, and his people were stressing him out because poor Barry wanted to visit with everybody that came up to get their book signed, and they kept going, no, keep going. So I went up there, and I actually had Joe's copy of the book as well as my own. So I got up there and I very sheepishly asked Mr. Manilow, whom I adored, to sign my book for me. And then I'm like, okay, I have to get this signed for Joe because he's going to divorce me if I don't. So I said, I hate to do this to you. Could you please sign another one for me? My husband's at work. He couldn't get away and he's breaking his heart that he couldn't be here. And Mr. Manilow, in all of his glory, said, yes, of course I can sign another book for you. As his people were going, move on. So it was a very stressful yet very nice. And actually he asked me how to spell my name, which I really appreciated because it could have forever been Lowry in my book.
Yeah.
And that's not right. So it was very good of him to ask me how to spell my name.
It is nice when they just because what a lot of times when I go, I get Devlin over Donald, and they're like, how do you spell that? Because I just think it's more memorable. Yeah, I go by both names, and I'm not offended by any of them, but I just like Devlin, and I want them to remember me as Devlin because they don't have a chance of meeting me and, because of a certain president down in America right now. Donald's not the best name to be rocking right now.
Yeah, yeah, they're really coming after him, eh?
Before I talked to Lori, was that Tanner Zipshin calling saying stop
Sorry,
mentioning?
it wasn't, sorry.
Oh. Lori thought it might be Barry Manilow, but I'm guessing it might be your mom.
No, it wasn't Barry either, just boring doctor calls.
No.
Oh, geez. I'm stressing her out. She has to have her psychiatrist on home because I make her work too much. It's like, did you film any Count Davula this week? So before we get to Penny and Pound Productions, because I love that theater, and I got it right. Corda actually helped me. It is in Cambridge.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. Because I get my Cambridges, Kitcheners mixed up, and I know
Everybody does. We're one and the same.
Anyhow, I do want to bring up something from your past. Now, you actually, when I first met you, you were kind of trying to start a singing career.
Kinda, yeah. But
I
then I
remember-
fell in love and got married.
Yeah, and I remember my sister-in-law did a photo shoot with you at was it a graveyard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tell me about that, because I always described your look at the time as you were going for something like Luba or something. So for all you 80s people out there, you got a nice memory there. You'll be watching some Luba videos later.
Luba, huh?
She had the gloves and the flowing.
I was more goth than Luba. Luba wasn't very goth.
No, but she pulled she did the long flowing robes and the gloves.
I still dress like that. That's just how I dress. Nothing to do with Luba. Maybe Luba was imitating me. You ever think of that?
Yeah, well, there you go, maybe. But I gave you a good laugh with Luba, right?
Yeah, that was just a fun. Cheryl was a really talented photographer, probably still is. And we just decided we were bored the one day. And she's like, why don't we go do this? And I'm like, yeah, okay, sounds good. And so we drove to some cemetery somewhere. I have no idea where they took me. They could have left me there. That would have been really spooky. But yeah, they drove me to this cemetery and we took some really cool pictures. And I still actually have those pictures.
You should put them up on Facebook because
I
they
should.
were awesome, yeah.
They were good pictures, yeah.
One or two, yeah, I remember them. And I remember when she showed me them, I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember I got to hear a tape you had that had some of your songs on it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You wrote your own material, did you not?
I did. I kinda. I didn't do a lot of writing back then. That's actually something that is kind of like a newfound passion for me. Writing is my happy place now, but back then it was kind of stressful and I did it kind of grudgingly. But now it's a good thing for me.
So tonight, Lori's going to go and do her dishes. She's going to put on her gloves, and then suddenly you'll just be, let it go, let it go. Damn you, Devlin! Those Luba tunes are going to sneak in. They always do. Hey, maybe we can get Luba too. She can't be that busy. No offense to Luba. I saw Luba a couple times in concert. So.
I liked her. I thought she was a very good singer.
She was, and I really liked her. She kind of had her own image. Like it was, you know, she was kind of because Canadian artists didn't have a lot of like images or something.
No.
Like some of them did, but some of them were just kind of quirky, like Jane Siberry, which I loved her stuff, but she was. In fact, I loved her quirkiness. Mike and I can talk ages about Jane Siberry. I actually know a friend who's like a friend of Jane Siberry, and I always wanted to go to one of her salons because it just seemed so pretentious, and I love that. You know, Canadian artists, they didn't really have a lot. You know, Bryan Adams, you know, wore his jeans and a white T-shirt and became a star. You know,
but I mean, we came a long way from like the Anne Murray years.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
for a long time, our Canadian content on the radio was like, what was that? Snowbird? Is that what her song was?
Snowbird and
Yeah.
I think Anne Murray's ready to go on our money. I got to, like, I've always liked Anne Murray's music, but I love that she has a sense of humor about herself.
Yeah.
I remember when South Park did that movie and they did that song Blame Canada. And I believe there's a line in it that says like fuck Anne Murray too. And I remember that actually got Oscar nominated and they actually asked Anne Murray to sing it. So wound up getting Robin Williams. And Anne Murray knew the song, and she said, yeah, it's a favorite with my children in this house. But I'm going to pass. I think I have a golf game. Like, I love that. Anne Murray's, I'll retire. I just want to play golf now.
Yeah.
I did enough commercials with me behind a tree, hawking my greatest hits albums. Singing Cotton Jenny and Snowbird. But I love that, we had Canadian artists that were just their own thing. Lubo is like, I'm not really goth, but I'm going to go there.
Yeah, but I mean, my point was beyond the Anne Murray years, at least we got some more mainstream.
Yeah. And people like Gordon Lightfoot and Joni Mitchell finally got some recognition, and now they get played quite regularly. And I'm so proud of people like Leonard Cohen and stuff. And we all seem to have a really good sense of humor, like Canadian artists.
Yeah.
I remember when Leonard Cohen won a Juno for Best Singer. He's like, songwriter, maybe, but Best Male Artist? I don't know. My voice, But I wanted to talk a little bit about your pop career. So, and is that who got you into like music and the arts and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, that's been a lifelong thing, and I know this sounds like an old trope, but my mom claims that I seriously sang before I spoke. I Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and so I've always had a love for singing, a love for performing. It goes back as long as I can remember. So it's not really a new endeavor for me to be in the arts. I'm actually kind of proud of myself that I'm making my living in the arts. So
No, that's kind of hard to do.
It is.
Follow your passion.
Yeah.
And it's a scary endeavor too. Yeah. And I'm always proud of people. And when I got into the staircase, I met so many different like musicians and artists and theater people and filmmakers. And I'm just so in awe of people who just decided to take a chance. That's kind of what we're doing with Mondo Nostalgia, but I don't know if we'll ever make a living on it, but if we make people smile, I'm good with that too,
Well, once you get Barry on your program, you're going to be on your way.
There you go. This year I should just take a chance and send
You
something.
should. That's what I have said to my kids this year. This is the year of don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Do not be afraid. The worst that's going to happen is it doesn't work out the way you want it to, right? Yeah. But don't be afraid, ever.
All right. I'm going to take that as a lesson. Besides Barry, who were your other musical influences that you looked up to?
I listened to a lot of jazz. I worked, I don't know if you know this, I worked as a jazz singer for a lot of years.
I think so. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So I like various jazz artists. I like classical music a lot. I don't know. I think my tastes pretty much run the same as yours. I have a very, very broad scope of what I like. So there aren't really any artists that are my go-to artists. I just kind of listen to what I like to listen to, if that makes sense.
So did you actually do theater before you decided to put together a theater company?
I did, actually. I did. I worked, I was in productions for a few of the community theaters around here. And then I actually lucked into a job teaching the children's programs for the Cambridge Community Players. And I did that for quite a few years. And that is actually what made me want to start Penny and Pound. Because I was teaching these classes and there were these tremendously talented kids. And when I looked around at what the theaters, and this isn't a slam to any of the theaters, but I mean, when I looked at the parts that these kids were able to audition for in the community theaters, nobody does kids theater or youth theater. Yeah. Because really, why would you? Right? But I saw this tremendous talent and I thought, I've got to give these kids the opportunity to actually get up and do more than chorus parts. Because really, with the exception of a few plays, most shows are adult driven. And so I thought, okay, well, we're gonna do this. But then I thought, but I don't want to do Alice in Wonderland and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with these kids. I want to do things like The Crucible and Of Mice and Men and Les Mis and hard stuff that makes these kids actually work. And so that's kind of become our mandate, is that we don't shy away from the hard productions. Now, having said that, that's not to say that we do all heavy duty stuff. I mean, we've done Anne of Green Gables, we've done, some lighter shows, but we always try to challenge the kids. But it goes back to me working for the Cambridge Community Players as their instructor.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I know, like, teaching improv, it was never something I planned to do. But when I actually got into it, once I got past my nerves, I just loved seeing the people that you could tell, they're coming back next week, and they look forward to this every day that they come. And you could tell that they really wanted to do that, and it really made you feel special. So I understand that. So how did Penny and Pound come about? You now got the idea for it.
Right.
Is it just you? You have a partner as well.
No, I do. I have a business partner, Karina Dunn. And it's funny looking back on it now. It's funny what we do, because I didn't really know Karina that well. Her daughter was in one of my classes, and I had worked with Karina. I was an assistant director on a production that she acted in, but I didn't really know her that well. But when I decided that I wanted to start this theater, I thought, okay, who's crazy enough to do this with me? And so I sent Karina an email, I believe, and I said, I'm starting a youth theater. Do you want to do this with me? And her response was, let me get back to you. And so she took a few days to actually weigh her options and to see if she really wanted to take this on. And she got back to me and she said, let's do it. And so that was the start. We went down and registered our business. Actually, when we first started, our first name was Part and Parcel Theater Productions. So that was what we... That's what we started out as. And we had to actually change our name when we became nonprofit, because when we first started, we were just started up as a small business. And then we decided to go nonprofit, and we did a search on the name a second time, because we did it when we originally chose the name. But the second time, Part and Parcel Productions in Toronto, they were a video production company, showed up. We were like, we could... no, because if they do something stupid, we don't want to get blamed for it. Yeah. So we decided we'd go ahead and change our name. So that's when Penny and Pound came about.
And where did Penny and Pound come from?
Well, it's really hard choosing names. You think that it's going to be fun, but it's not fun. And the same goes like for baby names and stuff. People for years dream about, if I have a daughter, I'm going to name her Penelope. But then when the time comes and it's serious and this young person is stuck with this name forever and ever, it's not so fun. So same thing with the business name. We really struggled over Part and Parcel. So when we had to change that, it was like, oh my God, what did we do? So it was actually Karina that came up with in for a penny, in for a pound. So that makes the world go round, right? So nice. We decided to go with that.
No, it's nice. It kind of flows right off the lips and stuff. And I know what you mean. Like, it's always weird when you meet older people who are named like Barbara or Ethel, and you wonder, there were little girls named Ethel and Barbara. Yeah. They're so mature names, and I'm not putting the names down. I'm just saying it's weird. And I know we went through a phase recently where kids were getting those older style names.
Yep.
And, an Archie or something just kind of seemed weird to give a little kid and stuff like that. My dream name to give, if I ever had a son, was going to be Huckleberry. Because I love Huckleberry Finn, and I think it's a great name because I love the shortened name Huck, even though it could be a problem.
Yep.
It could be a problem at school for names, but what a great name. Like, if you're mad at your kids, you're like, Huckleberry! Like, what a great name to yell. But I love the whole full name, personally. That's why I didn't have kids. They heard what kind of names
I was going to say. It's all coming together now, Don.
Yeah, no, I always loved Huckleberry, but people forget that you could get stuck with a like a business name that you really don't like. And
Yeah.
one thing when you're just starting out, but then you realize when you start seeing it on things.
Well, exactly. And we were kind of actually, we wanted to stick with something P&P because that's what people were calling us. Even when we were Part and Parcel, they were referring to us as P&P. So we didn't want to break with that. So then that limited us even more, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so we were lucky that Karina thought
No,
of that one.
and it's a great name.
Thanks.
And was it harder than you thought, or did you find that it was easy to put this together, like getting people involved, getting small business at first?
It was our very first, okay, so this is how stupid we are, Dawn. We're like, we do youth theater. Why don't we do Into the Woods? Let's do Sondheim as our very first, like, what are we thinking? We were either really, really, really brave or really, really stupid.
Yeah, that's very ambitious. I mean,
oh my!
The movie, but just knowing the style was just.
And that's a hard show. I mean, hardly any of the songs in that show are melodic. They're all over like they are typical Sondheim. So they're all over the map. And here we have a bunch of, 15 and 16-year-olds and we're like, sing this a cappella because we don't have a band for you yet. I don't know how these kids pulled it off. And I remember, we rehearsed and the kids worked their tail off and we got just enough kids out to do this production. So every kid that came out for us the first time got a part. It was lovely. And they worked their little tails off. And we had an orchestra when we moved into the theater and dress rehearsal came. And it was the worst thing I have ever heard in my life. And Karina and I stood backstage bawling our faces off saying, what have we done to these poor kids? We've set them up for failure. And then opening night came and they hit it out of the park. It was the best thing ever. Like they pulled it out and we were so proud. And I think it was because it was so bad and ended up so good that Karina and I decided to continue on with this.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've done enough theater in my life that one of the things I absolutely adore about theater is how minutes before the show, it looks like this is going to be a disaster. And sometimes the magic is there and it just all comes together and you do not know how you did it. And I also love all that craziness that happens before a show. And I always thought the Muppet Show gets it so right. All that crazy, weird stuff that you do not expect to happen.
It's true.
I remember we did a show. I don't know how. It was one of our Valentine's Day shows. And we had this huge set. And somebody realized that 10 minutes before the audience was coming in, my chair wasn't even out there, my hosting chair. So here I am, dressed in like my outfit for the evening, and I'm there bringing this gigantic, like, because it's a chair, trying to bring it up and thinking, if people knew half the stuff that we had. But I love that magic when it all comes together and you're like, how? And I think
why we do it.
Yeah, and I think that's when people talk about the magic of theater. I don't think it's just like, we're awesome. It's just that, how the heck did we pull that off?
That's 99%.
And that's one thing that I do miss about the live experiences, that you just don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes the strangest things can lead to that. Now, I've seen several of your productions. The one I've been impressed by a lot, but when you took on Les Miserables, I don't know if I'm even saying it right, but I couldn't believe you took that on, like, because this was like, again, we're talking teenagers here. It's a very heavy story. It's a very, and I remember, like, how are they going to pull this off? And you guys did an amazing job, to the point where I'm not the biggest fan of the musical, as theater people boo me right now. Even the movie I thought was okay, but I actually thought your performance was, like, the kids did such an incredible job. Like, I even feel weird calling them kids because they brought so much out into it. Like, you actually forget that these are young people because they're giving it their all. And I'm so impressed by the people that
and the talent. We got such incredible talent out for that show. It was just stunning. And I'll tell you, I've worked with adults, I've worked with youth, and I'm starting to find that the youth take it more seriously than the adults a lot of times, and they're more willing to delve deeper into their characters and think their characters through rather than just giving a surface performance. The kids, tend to ask, why is my character doing this? What is my character's motivation for this? And it's really, really cool to see how these young people can be such deep thinkers and, just hit it out of the park all the time. And, we've been lucky too, because as I said, when our first production, we had just the right amount of kids come out to be in that production. As the years have gone by, of course, we get quite a few kids out auditioning, but we've hit the point where we're lucky where we're able to cast the most talented youth in this area, and there's a lot of talent in this area when it comes to youth. So we've gotten really lucky with getting, people like our Jean Valjean, Jeremy Vandenhelm, incredibly talented young man.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
we've got, like, the list goes on and on with the kids that I believe if they audition professionally, they could very easily make it on the professional stage.
Yeah, no, and just absolutely. And when you talk about like intensity, I think kids need that right now.
Yeah.
I think we're losing a lot of kids to social media and like just anxieties and stresses. And I think stuff like theater and like, I have never been one to like force your kids into sports and stuff, but I actually have seen kids that have gone through sports just have more of an ethic in life.
Yeah. Yep, it's true.
When they grow up, and theater too, because it challenges them.
Yeah.
And I think when you were saying, I loved what you said about how they ask questions about, I don't understand why my character would do that, and I want to know, is because when you're a teen, everything is the end of the world. Like everything you go through is your heart and your emotions and your hormones, all like, a boy breaks up with you, a girl breaks up with you, it's the end of the world. Yeah. Your hair doesn't sit right, it's the end of the world. So they want to understand why these adults do it. And I think when you deal with older people, they're now set in their ways, and they're just, kind of like, I've worked in some wonderful community theaters, but I've also met some divas and men and women that are just kind of like, I don't care if I'm in my 40s, I can still play Annie.
Exactly.
I have seen productions where like you still get like, some 60-year-old woman playing, Juliet and stuff because she always gets the leads and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, it's time to move on.
Exactly.
and embrace the older roles that are out there.
For sure. And that's part of being serious about the theater, is being able to look at yourself and be honest with yourself and be honest with the parts that you're suitable for. And that's part of being a director too. I don't care how much you want to play Annie at 60 years old. As a director, I'm not casting you. So I don't know. Theater is all about honesty and being able to realize that when you go into an audition 9.5 times out of 10, it doesn't have as much to do with the talent that you're bringing as it does with, oh, you're too tall for our leading man, or I don't like the way your voice sounds with his, or, I really, really wanted somebody with whatever, who was whatever. A lot of times it comes down to physicality when you're casting a show, and it's not, you're ugly, I'm not going to cast you. It's,
no.
You just, I don't like how you look with the rest of the people that I've already cast. Or, I was really hoping to get somebody 5'1" and you're 6'3", right? So a lot of times that's what it comes down to. And it took me being a director, because I got my feelings hurt quite a bit when I was an actress, because I didn't get every part that I wanted. And I would walk away saying, well, obviously I wasn't talented enough for them to cast me. And I can guarantee at this point in time that that's not what it was. I just physically wasn't what they were looking for to fill the role with. So it wasn't until I became a director and looked at the process with those eyes that I realized that no, it doesn't have to do with talent, right?
And I know what you mean. Like sometimes it's charisma and personality too. Like if you just get a certain vibe from a person that you're like, oh, they're going to gel really good with this.
Yes.
A little story going off topic, but not really, is I recently watched an interview with Sally Struthers from All in the Family. And when she was up for the part of Gloria, she was up against Penny Marshall, who was already, fairly well established. She was on The Odd Couple and stuff. She also was in a relationship with Rob Reiner, so she had the chemistry and looked like Jean Stapleton.
Yeah.
So when they kept auditioning them, she kept saying, Penny Marshall's a lot more funnier than me. She's going to get the role. When she got cast as Gloria, she was just all excited. And then one day, years later, she asked Norman Lear, she said, why did you cast me? Everything was pointing to Penny Marshall to be Gloria Stivic. And she said, you know what? I'll be honest with you. Penny Marshall was funnier than you. She was more charismatic than you. And she looked exactly like Jean Stapleton and could pull off being her daughter. And she said, so why'd you pick me? And she said, one, you were very talented in the role. And two, when I cast this role, in my head, I said the daughter had to look like Archie.
Ah.
And she had the blue eyes and the light hair, and so she got the role, even though he told her, for every other thing, Penny Marshall would have beat you to it.
Right.
But he knew when he casted, it was pivotal that the daughter had to look like Archie and not the mother. So
right.
he couldn't believe that, and she's thanked her lucky stars, and Penny Marshall, it didn't hurt her in any way. So another thing I wanted to say is one thing I loved about coming to see your productions is some years you would see like somebody in a supporting role, and you'd see that they were just kind of new and they did a really great job. And then you'd see the next year them like bloom into like they had a bigger role, and you could see their confidence level. And I saw that many times, and it was just like, is that the same? And I'd ask you or whoever I was with, is that the same person that played that character in the last one? Because, and I love that you can see that when somebody really blossoms, like they
for
really,
sure. Well, we try to be creatively sneaky too, because these kids are learning without knowing that they're learning. They think they're coming to rehearsals. Well, yeah, you're coming to rehearsals, but you're also learning how to act and learning how to sing properly, and you're learning choreography and all of these things that just kind of come with rehearsing. You're learning the whole time, right?
and life lessons, like you're learning how to work with people, directors and other cast members, and just being around people, and you make some tremendous bonds.
Yes. Yeah.
That's one thing I've always learned about theater, is the bonds you make are so strong.
Well, you have to trust, right?
Pardon?
You have to trust to be on stage with somebody. You have to trust that person. So absolutely, you've got to establish that bond.
And I think that's why there's almost like a bit of a, when the production's over, you have a bit of a crash because of the fact that you have this intense romance with this group of people, and you never want it to end. And then when it does, you just kind of like, what now?
Exactly.
And you just kind of, and I know I got that even when I was doing like one-man shows, and I was just like, you're on that high, and then it goes. Nothing takes that high away from you when you look back at it and go, oh, we have that bond. And even when you meet people that you worked with, you're just kind of like, oh, remember how awesome that felt and stuff.
Yeah,
for you, both your daughters have gotten into this, and it's been wonderful seeing them really come along. And were you at all surprised that they kind of took on your love for this, or do you think your love was just so big that?
No, I knew that Piper was, I think, 7 years old when she was cast in her first role. I used to have another theater company. I don't know if you remember this. It was called Nova Stage. And it was actually a semi-pro company. And we did original works by Canadian playwrights. That's what our mandate was. And we needed a little girl for our one production. And my business partner then's name was Ann Meehan. Great woman, talented woman. And Piper, I think, was 4 the first time we read this script. And we approached her and said, would you like to do this part? And she said, no, Mommy, I don't. I'm like, okay, so we didn't do the show. This went on until Piper was 7 years old, until finally I said to her, okay, one way or another, we're doing this show. Are you in or you're out? And she goes, okay, I'll do it. But you're not allowed to get mad at me if I suck. And so I said, okay, we'll take the chance. So she did this role, and the opening of this, it was a fairy tale type thing. And the opening of the show was supposed to be done by, I believe it was the King, was supposed to have this voiceover. Piper was so good that we gave her a monologue to open this show. So little wee tiny, my daughter now at almost 20 years old weighs like 90 pounds soaking wet. So she was really tiny. And she went out and the spotlight hit her. And I remember standing backstage just clinging to the one actor, because I was like, oh, please let her be able to do this. And she did this monologue and she finished, and there's dead silence in the audience. And then one person goes, whoa. And then thunderous applause for her, right? And she's been hooked since then. So I knew she was going to be an actress, but I didn't think that she would be a singer, because little kids usually hum and sing while they're coloring and stuff. Piper never, ever did. And it was when she was 11 years old, she was auditioning for a show at the Cambridge Community Players, and she had to audition with a song. My brother actually was the musical director for it. So she had to audition with a song, and she sang, and this voice came out of her. And my brother and I looked at each other like, what the heck? And so I remember saying to her, look, Piper, you know, you could be a really, really good singer. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So she worked her little tail off, and she's got one of the best soprano voices around. Like, she is stunning. Like, she takes your breath away when she sings. So I was surprised that she sang, not surprised that she acted. Chloe, on the other hand, is very much like her dad. Very reserved, kind of observant, doesn't really like to have the spotlight on her. And so when she decided that she wanted to act, we approached her actually to do Young Cassette in Les Mis. And she did it, and she got out there and she sang, and she was good. And she is actually one of the best young actresses around, I think. And it's because she's been through so much in her young life that she has emotion that she can draw on, right? But so very long answer, kind of surprised, but not really.
Yeah, no, I remember when I got to know your kids, like Piper was always kind of like very open and out there, and Chloe was very reserved, like you said. You could definitely see the one that took after you and the one that took after Joe a little. Because loved Joe, but Joe, it always took a little bit to get him talking. But when you one-on-one, it started, you know. And I love that about him. And basically, so when I was seeing Piper in all these performances, and I remember when Chloe came out in the first one I ever saw her, and it was so amazing to see her. Yeah. And then I saw her in, I believe, A Nightingale.
Yeah.
And I was actually blown away because, you know, they were both so incredible, but Chloe just exuberated this. And I wondered if we'd ever see that from Chloe, because she was always kind of fine, like, oh, I'll do this part and stuff. And she had an amazing, and I was like, boy, you must be such a proud mother.
I am. It's really hard not to be a stage mom with them.
Yeah, I could imagine.
But it would not at all surprise me if both of my girls ended up going into the theater professionally. 100% I expect it from Piper. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Chloe went into it too. She just needs to get her confidence up. That's Chloe's downfall, is that she second guesses herself, and she really shouldn't.
Yeah, no, she was absolutely amazing. And it's nice to see how they've grown into such just not only just performers, but just incredible individuals, and so different from one another.
Yeah.
And that. Now, you actually put on A Nightingale. Was that the first play you had ever wrote? Now, this is something you and Piper worked on together, right?
This is Piper's story. Piper, back in grade, I think it was 7, they were tasked with writing, I think it was like a novelette type thing. And they were given the topic of the Holocaust. And so Piper, being Piper, was like, I don't want to write Anne Frank too. So she came up with this beautiful story, and got a really good mark on it. And then it was kind of forgotten about. But then she, I think it was just after Joe died, we were looking for an escape. We were looking for something that we could focus on. And she came to me and she said, Mom, I think we should turn this into a musical. And I was like, okay, have fun with that. She's like, well, no, I need you to, well, it started off as, I want you to write the lyrics to the songs. And I'm, Piper, I didn't even write poetry when I was an angsty teen. Like, I can't. She's like, sure you can. I need a lullaby. And I'm like, well, Piper, I can't really write lyrics without the music. She goes, well, the piano's over there, write one. And so I sat down and I wrote this little lullaby. And by the end of that first night, I had written like 5 songs for this show that she had written. So, so it kind of went through the processes, and we did a concert in May of 2019, and then we did the full-blown show in the fall. And now we've decided to do a complete and utter rewrite on it, so Nightingale no longer exists. Because we had to workshop it, and we had to see it in front of an audience. We had to see what we felt worked, what we felt didn't work. So we've gotten rid of a good number of the songs. We've rewritten them. We've given it a new title. It's now called Chosen One. And it's turning into kind of a different story, where Nightingale was kind of played to the victims that these people were. Chosen Ones is playing to, they're a bunch of freedom fighters. And they're a bunch, so we're working on that. So hopefully we'll have Nightingale / Chosen 1.2 sometime in the future.
Well, I remember when I believe I saw the concert and I saw the finished works, and I remember thinking that you definitely had something there. Like, I'm not, like, I know my theater, I've been to a couple of theater shows, but I mostly know it through movies and stuff.
Yeah.
But just from what I knew, it was such an original kind of story and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it had a Les Mis feel to it, but I know you guys were probably inspired by that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so many other things. But it was just, I said, they have something here. And I'm sure all the great shows have been reworked and
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure Cats were muskrats at one point. But muskrats just didn't look good on the thing. But you hear so many stories. So I'm glad that you're continuing with this, because I remember just seeing the concert and saying, I could visualize so much of it. And I couldn't, like, as I said, I don't know theater that well, but I couldn't think of too many things that you could compare it to. I just remember having such a great time with it and said, geez, I hope they keep working on this. And I can't wait to keep seeing the different versions of this, because I wouldn't be surprised if I saw this in a big production that,
we're hoping,
like a traveling company or something.
And the thing is, we really had to put on our big girl panties and take a hard look, because we put a lot of work into that. And I mean, it was Piper's baby. It was her story. Yeah. And so for us to kind of see it on the stage and say, okay, we got rid of the whole prologue. The prologue is completely different because it didn't flow. It just did not work. And it's funny because a lot of people that saw the show said, oh man, I really love that prologue. But to us, it was like, it felt clunky, and there were things that we wanted to get through that we didn't get through. And so it is like killing your children though. As we were striking these songs, I'm like, okay, bye, knowing that it wasn't going to be part of the show anymore. But it was
still songs that are in your repertoire that could come back in another show, or
for sure
be worked or something. Yeah,
there you go, Uncle Don. That's the way. We won't let them die.
Yeah. Now, Piper was a teen when she wrote this, right? Like this, and this story was heavy.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I was impressed. There was, lots going on. There was Bohemians, there was Nazis, if I recall. I was like, yeah. I remember when I first saw like the kids with the Nazi, emblems. I go, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they would have that in this. It's just like
Yeah.
they're not afraid to go there. They're not gonna have like fake emblems and stuff. I go,
You think of the Distels, you think of Nazis, Don. Let's face it.
well, no, I wasn't going there, but I was just thinking it doesn't surprise me that you weren't afraid to go there, because nowadays everything gets so judged. It's
Glossed over,
like,
yeah. Well, you need
just
to.
put an unhappy face there, and that'll say it all. But when I first saw it, and here you got like these younger performers, and they were like walking around in like a Nazi uniform.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, wow, I would have loved to see like. I was kind of hoping there was a little old lady that was so back,
Well, come back for Chosen One. We might write one in for you.
No, like I was shocked that this is such a heavy story for a teen.
Yeah.
And I love hearing that you wrote 5 songs after like, I can't do this. And it was like you were inspired by your own daughter. And
Yeah,
her
for sure.
need to do
Well, no,
this.
I'm scared of her, Don. That's what it is.
Is it a Judy Liza kind of relation?
It kind of is. I'm the Lorna.
Might surpass you in some way. And you'll be left with, your smoker's voice, over the rainbow.
Remember those days? Those were good days, Don.
Oh, we love watching the Judy Garland Christmas special every year. It's so sad and poignant, and you can just tell, like, every time there's a commercial break, Judy wants to hit that bar.
It's true.
Yeah. And it's like, now we got to sit back and watch Liza doing steam heat. See, I know it. It's such a brilliant piece of thing to see that. But yeah. Well, I've always said I kind of wanted you guys to be in Carrie together, the musical.
We want somebody to do that for us. We actually, for our BooTube that you hosted, we were going to do, and Eve was weak from Carrie.
Okay.
We have enough time to. Oh yeah. That is like #1 dream for Piper and I is to do Carrie together, to do Carrie and Margaret.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been done as a off-Broadway show.
It was, yeah.
But I do believe somebody tackled Mommy Dearest as well. That could be fun.
Ooh, that would be fun.
No
Actually,
wire hangers.
We want to do Mildred Pierce.
Mildred.
Yeah, that kind of sums our relationship up.
Well, I always like the irony too that if you guys did Carrie, your daughter's Piper, you're Laurie, and of course Piper Laurie played the mother.
I know, and that's where her name came from.
Was it really?
Her name started out as a joke because if Joe and I were going to have a boy, he was going to be Nicholas Joseph. And so Joe said, okay, well, our girl name then should really have Laurie in it. And he's like, oh, Piper Laurie. Like, and then we went, ooh, Piper, that's not bad.
Oh, and it totally suits her and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
it does.
That's good, and I'm glad to hear that you're going to keep revamping the show because I loved it in its form. And as I said, hopefully you'll get it to the right thing so Jeremy can still play it because he is an amazing young man.
Oh, he is. He's which leads us to our next thing. So Daddy Longlegs is a online where we have to sell tickets to this one. That's the only thing, but we're going to stream it. And it is Piper and Jeremy. It's a 2-person show. I don't know if you're familiar with the old movie. It was Fred Astaire and Leslie Caron.
No, I have heard of it, and I know a lot of Fred Astaire, but I'm not familiar with that movie.
It is the sweetest story. Beautiful music, but it's just the 2 of them, which is making it possible for us to do this production because I can trust both of them to learn their stuff, right? Yeah. But it's going to be brilliantly good, very, very, very good. So we just had our first read through the other day, and I mean, I was practically crying by the end of it because they're both so good and so sweet in their parts.
Is this a Broadway show or an off-Broadway show, or?
think it was on Broadway.
Okay.
I don't know how long it ran. But yeah, it's a relatively new show, actually. I think it's from like 2015, something like that. See, two-person show, right? So right there, you're limiting the number of people in your audience.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a great big blockbustery Chicago type thing. It's just a
That's the
sweet
thing about having a cast of like 30 people. They all have relatives and stuff.
Yes, for sure, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But you know, we decided to do this because it was either do something online or just wait until Little Women can go up whenever we're allowed to go back to live theater. And we've done our little cabarets, and we've got another one coming up for Valentine's Day. But we decided, you know what, why don't we try to put a show that's not going to make me go too gray. So having the two people and just a piano player is the way we decided to go. So, but it's going to be really good.
When's it streaming?
Hopefully first week of March, but we have to kind of keep our eye on what we are and are not allowed to do when it comes to rehearsing and recording and things like that, right? So it's kind of up in the air right now, but sometime early spring is when we're hoping to film and stream. So.
Well, we will definitely promote it on Mondo Nostalgia. So when you get dates and stuff and how you get tickets for it.
Yeah, awesome.
I definitely love to see this because, you know, I'm a big fan of Piper and Jeremy. What's his full name? I always forget.
Jeremy Vandenhelm.
Yeah, he is. If you've never seen a Penny and Pound production or any production he's been in, every time I see him, and I've talked to Piper about this, I made a comment. I said, it's just almost a sin that somebody is so good at so many different things, and when you meet him, he's also nice.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that I get because you know, like this guy is talented. Like when he did some of the dancing in like Nightingale, unbelievable. Like,
oh yeah,
I knew he could move, but like he was doing like I don't know what kind of dancing you would call it. It was kind of dancing. Pardon?
Jer went to Sheridan, so he probably has some ballet and everything else. He's a talented kid. But you're absolutely right. You know, when I first met Jeremy, and I've told him this, he is so sweet that I didn't trust him. I was like,
Eddie Haskell kind of thing, like.
Well, it was just you can't. Nobody is that sweet all the time. 5 years later, he is that sweet all the time. Like that's really how he is. So it's incredible. Like
you talk about triple threats, you know, he has the voice, he has the dancing, he has the looks, like, you know, he looks like a star, like, and he's the charisma, you know, even you put him in a supporting role, he still stands out and you just can't help not notice him. So, you know.
Yeah.
So and you know, and he works incredible with Piper. So this could be a very amazing thing.
Oh,
so now, when you buy tickets, will it be like a one night thing, or you can watch it anytime during a week? Oh, still stuff you're working out. You got that look on your face, like we're not sure yet.
I make things look pretty.
Oh, yes, you're the director, right?
This is up to my lovely daughter to I can't remember stream for I don't know. It's a legitimate company, I'm told. I don't.
Well, as soon as you get all the information, we will definitely promote it. And hey, I've had so much fun. I will have you back for sure. Now, before we wrap things up, you know, you guys had been building your name. You know, you were getting people out. You were doing like something like what, 3-4 shows a year and radio plays and just everything. Then we get hit with a pandemic. And of course, this has become so hard for not only like artists, it's also helped artists too. But, you know, I know a lot of people who rely on doing gigs and you can't just play in a bar and stuff anymore. So when you're a small little company that's building and then suddenly you're hit with this, how did that impact you? Like you were getting ready to put on a show, I believe, when this all happened, right?
Yeah. We had just closed our winter show and we were moving on actually to, I believe, Little Women was our next one up. I don't know, it's been forever. But we actually lucked out because we hadn't taken the next step. So our next step, hopefully, is getting our own space, our own, at least, rehearsal space. And we had just had a meeting with the mayor of Cambridge to kind of talk to her about how the city could help us. And she was well aware of us. She had come to see our production of Anne Frank and was just blown away. And she was like, you know, of course you hit the mandate on the head of what the city of Cambridge is, and we will help you. And here's what we're going to do. And here's, you know, a bunch of names of people who I think would be sponsors for you. And I'll get you a few more names. And then the evening of the meeting, we met with the mayor in the morning, and a friend had approached me about some of our kids performing at a volunteer appreciation night. There were counselors there, and our kids came and they hit their songs out of the park, and counselors were coming up to me saying, oh my gosh, I didn't even know you existed. This is brilliant. Let me help. And then we were hit with the pandemic. So we were fortunate though, because we have nothing. We don't have a building to maintain. We don't have the staff to pay. We were still at the beginning stages. So we actually got very, very lucky in that we had nothing at stake, right? We missed putting shows up in person, but because we weren't putting them up, there was no cost to us, right? So we really weren't down anything. So we were fortunate enough to have Piper on our team, who's very, very creative and very ambitious. And so we did the online cabarets and things like that just to keep our presence up. So I think that,
very smart idea.
Yeah, I think that which again is why we've decided to do Daddy Long Legs, because it's time that we put a legitimate show up again. But we were really fortunate in that we weren't out anything other than the momentum that we were building with the city, which we can kind of get back, I'm sure, once we're out the other end of this thing. I'll have another meeting with the mayor and just say, hi, remember us? And, you know, we could benefit from this, because hopefully people are going to be even more willing to help out arts organizations.
That's what I'm hoping for, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm hoping people will be eager for it because they've watched so much Netflix or, you know, Disney Plus, that they're going to want to be out and see live theater or go see a band or go to an art gallery or something, just to be out.
For sure. And as I said earlier, this could truly be a renaissance for the arts communities, all types of arts. I think that being without high access to them for the past year, I think is going to boast well for all of the arts communities.
Nice. And that's great. And it's good that you have a positive spirit and you keep putting stuff out there. I was lucky enough to be one of the hosts. Well, Count Devlin was lucky enough to be the host for your Halloween BooTube. And there was so many really interesting, talented people on that.
Yeah,
so
sure.
much.
And Count Devlin is going to do Valentine's Day for us as well, yes?
Oh, I didn't know you want to Count Devlin. I thought you were looking for me.
I think that would be
sure.
I'll take you too. Maybe you can
one you want, we will negotiate. We'll talk either way, I'm up for Count Devlin anytime. I'm trying to get him out there.
Awesome.
Best I can, but he'd be fun for a Valentine's Day show. Anyhow, I will do it no matter what.
Awesome.
To it. Hopefully you get a lot of people submitting stuff. Do you get a lot of submissions when? We
do pretty well. Yeah, not too bad. And I think this one is going to do very well because it's hard to come up with Christmas stuff to do. Our Christmas one was a little bit light. We didn't get a ton of submissions, and I don't know if it's because it's a busy time of year or because everybody figures everybody else is going to sing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, and really what else is there to sing? But I think for this one, we're doing Broadway love songs, and it can be any type of love. It doesn't have to be romantic love. So I think we're going to get a lot of submissions for this one. There seems to be quite a bit of enthusiasm for it. So.
Well, I look forward to it, and I was just talking to Mike about, like, I always host the How We First Met, which is just a wonderful show. But because the staircase closed, it's not going to be happening this year. So I said, it's going to be weird not hosting anything. So when you asked me to host, I go, well, at least I can dust off my hosting for that. And be part of, because, you know, for a while there, for the staircase point of view, I was kind of a little bit of a Valentine. I was like the Cupid and stuff like that. And I do hope I get to do How We First Met again, because it's just an amazing show. And yeah, I think yeah, Valentine will probably do really well for you
Yeah.
because theater is about love of all kinds of stuff. I'll put you on the spot quickly. What are some of your favorite musicals? And then we'll talk about some of your least favorite musicals because we like to do that too.
My all-time favorite is Fiddler on the Roof. I can't find anything wrong with that show. I love everything about that show. Music, beautiful, love it. Jesus Christ Superstar is one of my favorites. It's on my bucket list to direct both of those, actually. Love Chicago. Love Hairspray. Love Carousel. Love Oklahoma. Anything Rodgers and Hammerstein I like. Least favorites.
It's okay, David.
Let's see. What are some of my least favorites that I'm not going to be? Okay. I'm going to start this with Fight Me.
Okay.
Hamilton. I do not see. I just don't get it. I tried. Broadway HD streamed it at the beginning of this pandemic, and I'm like, you know what? Be a grown-up, Lori. I know it's not really your type of music, but be a grown-up and see it for what it is. And I started watching it, and when the scene flip and rip happened, like for the 20th time, I was like, write something different. Oh my God.
And that's what we like to see. You can still respect something and just say, that's not for me. It's just
exactly, but I don't respect.
Yeah.
Nobody has my address, right? Nobody has my contact. They don't know where to find me. I hate Hamilton. I really, really, I'm sorry.
So I'm going to say that's not going to be on the penny and pound slate anytime soon unless somebody else directs it. Yeah.
No.
Oh, it could be worse. You could have said Xanadu and really broke my heart. Hey, the fact that I lived to see a production of Xanadu come to Broadway still blows me away.
Could happen.
Well, it did. Xanadu was
Could
Broadway.
happen again, though. They do revivals all the time.
I know. I got to see a really low-budget version of it, and I found it to be a very pleasant show, and I was actually surprised it was nominated for Best Musical the year it came out. But you remember how many good songs were in it, and being an Olivia Newton-John fan, I just loved that they brought some ELO songs that weren't in the original movie, like Evil Woman was now Strange Magic, and Have You Never Been Mellow was added to it, and I think it's a little too camp for my liking, but I did like that they played up. Like I didn't understand why they had to have her as an Australian, and they made it into a really bad Australian accent. But the music is still what still makes Xanadu, so I'm glad I lived to see it. But I think we've hit a time. Are you a fan of how they've been taking all these old movies, and making them into? Because it seems like there are some great ones, and then there's some ones that are like, wow, that's really, I guess you could have said that with Carrie. Nobody saw that coming.
Well, yeah, it's true. I think that Broadway's getting a little bit lazy. I think that we need to kind of be moving back to original stories that need to be told. I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just a snob, but I just find it really lazy to take an existing piece, slap some music on it, and call it done. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
And I think most of them sell basically on the nostalgia of it.
Yeah.
And then you get a couple of cases that are actually, like you said, Hairspray is a phenomenal one that it was a really good cult movie.
Yeah.
And I remember the story I love about this is when John Waters, apparently the lady who produced it just got really sick. And so she rented a whole bunch of movies to see which one would make a good musical. And she went to John Waters and said, I'd like to turn Hairspray into a musical. And he was like, well, I like the old style musicals of the past, you know, like and he says, I'm not really a big fan of the opera or, like that kind of stuff. And they said, well, can we write a couple of songs and then we'll just let you decide then? And so he said, yes. They had 5 songs written. They did Good Morning Baltimore for him, and after hearing the lyrics said, you totally get the movie, let's do this. And it
Yep.
was just sold on that one song because
Yep.
he realized they had all the the good naturedness of it. They kept all the commentary about such an important theme
Yep.
that I don't, John Waters was making, just a fun little movie and had these great big themes in them.
Yeah.
And I think the musical actually took those themes and expanded on them
For sure.
and realized and I don't know about you, but I was actually impressed that Hairspray has now got a thing that says you actually have to have a diverse cast in order to do it.
Well, the story doesn't make any sense. If I've seen, I watch kind of bootleggy productions
Yeah.
of things just to pass my time, and there have been productions of Hairspray done with all white people, and it's like,
Yeah.
the story does not make any sense. Then, like,
John Waters said that he has been invited to many openings of like people doing it from high schools and stuff, and he loves seeing it. But he says it's weird when you see an all-white cast, or if you see skinny Tracy. It's like
it doesn't make any
it
sense.
really doesn't make
No.
sense. And then
No.
it was recently announced that if you now do Hairspray, you have to have some kind of diversity. And
Yes.
the first thing I thought was not only, like the story, if you're going to do black or like, because that's an important part of the movie, but I think it's important to have Tracy be overweight and
Yes,
the mother
absolutely.
to be overweight.
And do you know what? I do not like it when they make Tracy a nerd. The idea behind Tracy is she's always a step ahead of everybody else.
Yes.
So no, she's not in style. She's ahead, right? And I think that that's actually one of the things that the movie captured beautifully about her. They cast a gorgeous, gorgeous girl. Nikki Blonsky is just beautiful. And she was just always that step ahead. And so at the end, when they've all got their bouffants and their poofy skirts, Tracy comes out with her hair straightened in this, 60s go-go boot type thing. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I don't like it when they take that character and make her kind of this nerdy, slovenly, doesn't know how to dress type person. That really negates
No. Tracy is the movie, like you said, I think works because it is spot on, because Tracy is important to contrast with the mother who's hidden away for so long. And Tracy's a dreamer, and her father is a dreamer, and he followed his smaller dreams and now wants Tracy to do the same. And I love that even John Travolta's character got the character right about how he's worried about his daughter and doesn't want her to do that. But I love that Tracy doesn't realize there's nothing wrong. Like, she realizes there's stuff wrong in the world. She doesn't see anything wrong with her body type. She doesn't see anything wrong with her dating someone like Link. She doesn't see anything wrong with dancing with black people in a segregated thing. And that is the character. She's supposed to be infectious and inspiring. And when they play her this mousy character, it loses so much. And
it doesn't work.
Ricky Lake got that. And I remember John Waters said their biggest problem, if you ever get a chance to watch the commentary, John Waters said their biggest problem with Hairspray was that Ricky Lake the main character had to be overweight, but also be able to dance just as good as everyone else. And they said the biggest problem was she kept losing weight.
Yes, I read that.
So every time the dancers would learn how to dance, they would all leave, and John Waters would bring out like an eclair, a dessert tray, and force her to eat. I also like in Hairspray that it has almost become a stipulation that the mother, in honor of Divine, has to be played by a male.
Yeah.
And, I love that just because it's so incredible. I remember the first time, like, I had seen the John Waters way before, but the first time I saw the new musical one, it's probably like 20 years old now. But John Travolta is almost like when you first see it, you're like, okay, that's John Travolta, and by the end, you just see he's just walking like a woman.
Oh yeah,
When
he
he
was.
does the last scene, and we can't stop the beat,
Yep,
and he has that red dress on.
yep.
I swear he looks like Kirstie Alley. Yeah, like from Look Who's Talking.
Does.
And I'm almost like, when she got a little bit bigger, I said, "Oh my God, he's channeling his former co-star." And but I think that's one of the rare cases that like they took a movie. But I know what you mean. Sometimes you see them, and it's just nostalgia. It's just like, oh yeah, I'd like to see this. And then some that kind of make sense, like when they did Victor Victoria. That was a kind of a musical.
Yeah, like some are set up.
Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then there was like, you get some that you're just like, what? They did a musical for that?
Like Beetlejuice.
Like yeah. SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's supposed to be really good. I've never seen it. It's supposed to be pretty good. I should check that out.
Past, I'll give this more promotion. We just watched the one they did on TV Live for A Christmas Story. And I'm very protective of A Christmas Story. And I was actually surprised how entertained I was by it. Have you ever seen the musical version?
I've just seen the Nostalgia Critic review of it.
And I was actually surprised by not only the cast, but just how much of the movie they incorporate. And I'm sorry, when you see the leg dance, the leg lamp dance, you think this is kind of ridiculous. Have you ever seen Young Frankenstein on stage?
Not on stage, no. I've seen the movie, but I haven't seen the stage production.
I've seen two productions because I had friends in the one, and I went to it not sure what I was going to see. And I absolutely adore that musical. I really hope they do make it into a movie or it gets seen. And then when it came out again, they did a little theater number. I actually had to get Corda and Dave to go see it because I said, I cannot believe they did this. When you see the Madeline Kahn character with the whole, like, first of all, I was won over when I haven't even seen the play and I'm looking in the playbook and there's a song that's called Rollin' the Hay.
I knew that was coming.
They actually choreograph it on this hay thing. And I just like, but I fell madly in love. And if you get a chance, I think it's on YouTube because I think Megan, I'll get her name wrong, Megan Mahaley from Will and Grace played the Madeline Kahn.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Good
in that role.
And she originated the role on Broadway, which perfect for a Madeline Kahn kid. Yeah. And there's a whole song where they do this dance number with the whole "don't touch my hair," but don't touch these, how she's a prude at the beginning of Gene Wilder. And there is a moment in the song where she literally has a bridge that's like, and don't touch my tits, 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 tits. I almost wept with joy. Because I never thought I'd see a Broadway musical that just had somebody yelling tits. One of my all-time favorite words.
You know what? That'll be Piper's and my next endeavor, Tits the Musical. Just for you.
Well, if there's a role in it for me, like a nickel or something,
we'll write one in for you.
Yeah. I've been offered a couple times to come out and audition for a couple plays, and something always holds me back.
Oh, you should do it.
Yeah, because my theater days ended kind of in high school, and then I got into improv and stuff. But I loved that, just the coming together of theater. So when you talk about your love of it, I totally get it. Because we used to do like the Sears Festival, which is a big Hamilton thing. I think it's an Ontario thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we used to perform, and I remember, there was an awards ceremony.
Yeah.
And you didn't get any. You were like, and everybody's telling you, you're gonna get one, and when you don't. I had that happen to me. I had people I go to the bathroom and they go, "You're gonna get one." That was an amazing performance, but I had a director who was really not liked by the judges. And so we'd always get a couple of throwaway ones, but he would always take big chances. I remember, but he was one of my all-time favorite teachers because he was that way.
Yeah.
Like his dream was, and sadly he never saw it, was he always wanted to do naked Shakespeare. Maybe not with a high school crew, because that's probably not, but we were going back to the 80s now, so, you know. But I remember I went from one role where I didn't have any speaking lines, and the next year, he saw how much I grew as an actor and decided that my best friend was going to get the lead, and he thought I should be the second lead. And I was like, wait a minute, I barely had any scenes. I auditioned for like a character that had a monologue, and I was like already nervous about that. Now he wants me to take the second lead. Now, when I read this script, it was a script, a really weird script that I remember the Sears judges saying, we hate this play. It's called For Crying Out Loud. And the second lead is a red light bulb that's a conscience. So technically I'm like, okay, I read all my lines off stage. So I agreed to it. And then I basically was like, okay, all I'm doing is a voiceover. And then after our first rehearsal, he said, oh, by the way, I'm redoing the whole thing. You're going to be on stage the entire time of the thing. And the only person who can look at you is your best friend at the time. And you're going to work off. We're going to have you in a red smoking jacket. And he actually played up my gayness, even though I wasn't out yet. And I said, I have to deal with playing this over the top, like, oh, yeah, and I'm not ready to even deal with it in my own life. But he saw it in me, but he saw the charisma that we had. And like, he'd have rehearsals that he would like give other students shit if they looked at me. Because he said, no, you do not look at him. He only talks to this guy because I'm his. And I got through it. I don't know how. And it was a wonderful experience. But the next year, I'm like, no, I'm taking a smaller part. I said, that was so much work. And it was amazing. But no, he told me, no, we're taking that little. And he even got, like, they hated the play, but they said that I give you kudos. I've never seen anyone take that character and put him on stage.
That's cool.
Like, literally, I was sitting in a chair when I didn't have any scenes watching the whole scene, and I was there in character all the time. And
that is cool.
They said the fact that you turn a red light into a guy in a smoking jacket and the chemistry they had. So my friend got the award, I did not, and everybody told me I was going to get the award, and so I believed it. I believed my own, how dare I? So,
awards mean nothing.
No, but I want them. No, I'm just kidding. We used to do a show called Santa Survivor with improv, and any of my improv friends will giggle by this. But they always tell you it's a fun show. It doesn't matter who wins, because it was like the TV show Survivor. You do a scene, and then the audience votes who gets kicked off the thing, and whoever makes it to the end is the winner. I was always like, yeah, it doesn't matter who wins, but I got to get one of these wins under my belt. And so I finally got one. It took me like 3 shows, but I finally got a win, and I was just like, I don't care. I'm putting that in all my bios.
Nice.
Yes, I'm very competitive. People don't know. Anyhow, Lori, I had a great time.
Me too.
So, the Valentine's Day show, do you know anything about it? Is it Valentine's weekend? Because I know...
It will be going up, I believe, on Valentine's Day. The Saturday before. I think Valentine's Day is on a Sunday.
Sunday.
So it'll likely run it's going up on Valentine's Day, I'm told by
and
my.
It'll be up to 2?
Yeah.
2 days you're going to run it for?
Likely, yeah. That's what we normally do, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to it. Let me know what you want. If you want Count Devlin, if you want me, the Master of Love, whatever you'd like.
Awesome.
If you want me to do it in drag, my drag career is just years away, so that's probably going to happen soon.
I'm thinking Cupid. Do you want to dress as Cupid?
Yeah, no, that's unless Cupid can wear clothes and I'm not wearing a diaper. I'm getting older in my age, and that just make me think of things that are coming. I'm like 2 years away from a senior's discount at Shoppers Drug Mart. I can't be this old. I'm young at heart, as we all are.
Just
But
a
Lori,
number.
thank you for doing this, and we'll have to come on and have you just talk about other great stuff. Maybe we'll have you come on just before Daddy Longlegs comes on. Maybe
Awesome.
Piper or
This was
somebody
a
else
hoot.
about it.
Thank you so much for asking me.
I had a lot of fun, and please, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Corda, for putting this all together. Isn't she so talkative? It's ridiculous. She's just like sitting there taking phone calls.
I'm just the audience, you know that.
She's working on 3 projects, I've already told her. So. Anyhow, Lori, all the best to your thing, and keep watching Mondo Nostalgia, because we are going to promote all the stuff that Penny and Pound does. We usually try to link to it too when we can.
Awesome.
Support this fine theater, and when this is all over, hopefully 2021, we will definitely get to see more theater out again. And yeah, can't wait to see all those incredible performers again live on stage, even though it's still nice to see them on Zoom and all the other things too. But yeah,
For
we need
sure.
to get out there. Anyhow, thank you very much, and thank you, and have a great night.